Today on Storyline, James, TJ, and I sat down for 1 hour and 17 minutes and talked about Star Wars, and then it got edited down to however long the video is. It's just a straight up geeked out party on Storyline today. Enjoy. Welcome to Storyline, the show where you get to watch 3 aspiring filmmakers learn how not to make a feature-length film. I can't do it.
It's too silly.
It's too silly. Lord knows we're not silly. Welcome to Storyline, the show where you get to watch 3 aspiring filmmakers learn how not to make a feature-length film. I'm your host, Ben Howe. And today we don't have any new movie content, so we just figured we'd sit around and talk for a little bit. Based on some viewer feedback, we thought it would be a good idea to spend our time today analyzing a script, the end of an act, because that's where we find ourselves in our movie. We're approaching the end of Act 1, and so we thought we would take a look at the greatest movie ever made.
Citizen Kane.
The end of Act 1 of, naturally, Star Wars. First off, if you haven't seen Star Wars, get out. Go rent it, for crying out loud.
Or buy it.
Or buy it.
Own it.
Own it.
Forever.
It's a new Disney series. It's great.
The purpose of this, I'm going to give you a quick summary of the scenes that we're going to cover. This is just to sort of recap so you know what's going on. We first meet Ben Kenobi when he rescues Luke from the Sand People. Luke sort of introduces R2-D2, they get 3PO, and they head back away from the Sand People. The next scene is at Ben's hut. This is a fairly long scene, so they spend some time there. We get a lot of exposition in that scene. He says, "You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan."
That was pretty good.
And at the end of that scene, Luke says, "Look, I can't go with you. I can take you as far as Anchorhead, and you can get a transport there." Then cut to the Death Star. We get the round table scene where Vader force chokes the dude. They're talking about how infinitely powerful the Death Star is. We cut to the Jawa Holocaust, where the stormtroopers, apparently the best stormtroopers in the entire galaxy,
we'll come back to that,
here on Tatooine, because they wipe out an elite squadron of Jawas.
A what now?
And we get that little...
Houdini.
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 So we get the scene where Luke realizes then that the stormtroopers have come, they've killed all these Jawas, and he goes, and that would lead them back home. And Luke heads home, sees the dead corpse of his aunt and uncle, and we cut to Vader interrogating Leia, and that's a very quick scene. And then we cut to Luke with Obi-Wan, and they decide. Luke says, "I want to come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father."
And Act 2 starts.
Right, and then begins Act 2.
The end of Act 1 is when the hero irreversibly decides that he is going to be a part of his story. That is his last chance to turn back.
So, that's what we're going to talk about. And I thought we'd just start off first with just some broad ideas. I wanted to throw out there to you guys the question, is there anything that doesn't work? Maybe I'll just start with you, TJ. What doesn't work for you about what we just watched?
Why you gotta put me on the spot first? Just what I said earlier, pacing. So like the scene where Luke is running to his land speeder to go check home. That shot lasts way too long. It almost lasts so long that you're wondering, is he actually running as fast as he can?
Yeah.
But that would lead him back home. Dun, 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 dun.
And 10 seconds later, he finally makes it to the land speeder to head home. Yeah, pacing has changed. James, what doesn't work for you about this portion of Star Wars?
There are some scenes that are really exposition heavy, like we talk about. They generally have a pretty good reason to be talking about it. They're very clever to make sure that someone is asking a question or doesn't know something. So there's a reason for someone to go on to talk about something. Mm-hmm. But you just kind of sit back and watch it with sort of with a critic's eye, and you realize, there's a lot of talking and just people talking about their past.
Like if you wrote Star Wars today, Darth Vader does a little, what I like to call mustache twirling, and I don't know where I got that term from. It may be something that John August says.
I
But
think it's just something we know.
yeah, perhaps. But the line where he goes to the princess, and now, Your Highness, we will discuss the location of your hidden rebel base. You can't write that, right? Some Hollywood exec script supervisor is going to say, no, that's crap. There's like one face and one voice with enough gravitas to pull that line off. So when you see it on the page, I mean, in hindsight, we know that it kind of works. It doesn't stand out. But I'm just thinking about if I was looking at that and I had no knowledge of Star Wars, I would just simply laugh at it and be like, you're kidding me. Your villain says, and now, Your Highness, we will discuss the location of your hidden rebel fortress. It's hokey. It's campy. But I love it. All right, so there's just a couple thoughts that we had on things that maybe...
Really, that
Don't.
segment was just to try and give us credit for the fanboy extravaganza that is about to break out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do this quick segue piece, just so that you guys know what's coming up next. So we're big fans of the show Film Riot, and they do a thing called Monday Challenge. The funny thing is, Ryan Connolly started doing the Monday Challenge right about the same time as we were really getting ramped up in production. And what I love about the Monday Challenge is it gets people to fight the resistance. But what the Monday Challenge is Ryan just puts it out there, and he's done. It's kind of about visual effects, which is sort of what Film Riot's about. But this one really caught our interest, and since we don't have movie content, we thought we'd probably just jump on board and do this one.
The challenge is to recreate a scene. So whoever can recreate a scene, not just from a camera angle perspective or an acting perspective, but just lighting, mood, feel of the piece, that you capture whatever the feeling of that scene aesthetically was. If you can recreate that, then you win.
Right. So we decided we were going to jump on board with this challenge, and here you go. Give us a kiss. 'Cause I need it. So, if you don't know what scene that's from, get out!
Hey,
Why are you watching our show?
I'd only seen Jaws till
6 months ago, and you suck at life. 6 months ago was last year, James. It's March.
I think it was further than 6 months ago, but
That's from Jaws.
You
Classic
suck
scene.
at life.
Ryan, if you're still watching, thank you for doing Film Riot for the last 4 years. We love it, and hope that you enjoyed our Jaws scene.
We love you, Bruno.
We love the beer.
He's gone. He can't hear you.
I know. That's why I gave him a shout out.
Whammy bam! We're going to take the first act of Star Wars and take the lessons that we've, or some of the lessons, some of our better lessons that we've posted on YouTube under Storyline, and take those lessons and say, how are they doing this in Act 1 and doing it well? So let me recap some of the lessons. So when we talked about character introduction, we talked about showing a character doing what they love. And we should set up the character's flaw early on.
We don't really get to see Luke doing what he loves. We do get to hear him talk about
what he wants to do.
what he wants to do, how
So-
he's unhappy in his current situation.
The whole point of his character setup is that he can't do what he loves. That's the whole
Right.
point of his frustration. But they still have that scene. I was thinking about this on the way over. Great movies, great character introductions have our hero moment where there's just a moment or a second where we realize this is who they are.
Yeah.
He walks off and he looks into the two sunsets. I don't know the sun's set,
There you go.
and there's no dialogue. There's no. You don't even really know.
doesn't need anything.
Yeah, it's nothing but him
Yeah.
and a sunset and music, but it's amazing. You feel this emotion of this character who longs for something bigger than himself, and he's frustrated because he can't do it, and he's stuck. And that's our hero moment. It's a tableau. That's the word I'm looking for. It's if there was a freeze frame of that character and who they were supposed to be. Joss Whedon in Firefly, the TV show, the opening scene is Mal being a commander in battle, and he's commanding. They're losing, and he's commanding his troops, doing a great job inspiring them, even though they're losing. But he thinks he's about to get air support, and then they say they're not coming, and they're pulling out, and so that's the big loss. And there's this shot where he's just looking up, dumbfounded that he's been abandoned by his comrades, and it just pulls out, and then the guy next to him gets killed. And that's who Mal is. He's a loser. Joss Whedon made a movie about a guy who loses every episode and is barely surviving and making it by. So, I think all great stories, movies have a moment. It's not just...
A shot that shows the character in that
Yeah.
one shot.
So...
Yeah, cool. It's worth mentioning because you mentioned I think the way you phrased it was give your character a great introduction. There is no greater character introduction than Darth Vader's entrance.
Oh, yeah.
And now, sure, he's the antagonist, he's the villain, but Star Wars just does that so masterfully. Everything about Vader's entrance is perfect.
You hear his breathing before you see him.
Yeah.
There are dead bodies on the floor.
Right.
The stormtroopers cower, and he walks through smoke.
It
there's
doesn't get any better than that.
There's no better archetypal sort of
Yeah.
Evil introduction than a black figure.
Emerging from smoke.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about character's flaw?
They do show his flaw a little bit. It's not as blatant as some characters' flaws, like Woody, being very selfish. It just shows, and it's what they talk about all through Empire. He's impatient.
There's a theme throughout from the very beginning of Star Wars is that the Empire's big, and the rebels are small and desperate, and they need a hero. Leia thinks it's Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan thinks it's Luke, although he may not say it from the very beginning. And Luke is a nobody. He's a farm boy. So he doesn't have this active, sort of negative personality trait, but he's a nobody. He's a pipsqueak. He can't, he's, as much as we love Mark Hamill, there are points in his character where he's supposed to be whiny. He's a kid. I don't know if it's a fatal flaw.
I would say that if you're going on what's established, it would be more responsibility. He has to take the role that's thrust upon him. And even in the beginning, I need you to do this, but I wanted to do this instead. No, you're going to do this.
He's like a person who doesn't not believe in it, but he doesn't fully believe in it. There's this sort of progression or stepping into...
Yeah.
When Obi-Wan says that's your first step into a much larger world, he's progressing into this idea, this thing called the Force, and into power, and in his role, his mantle as hero and leader. But he's not there yet, and he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't fully believe that that's what he should be.
Just because you believe in something mechanically doesn't mean that you have fully given yourself over to that thing, to that belief 100%. And I think if you look at the three films altogether, he starts from a place of, yes, I believe in it. It's true, it's real. To, at the end, by the end of Jedi, he's fully given himself over to it. Well, by the beginning of Jedi, he's choking out, pig guards or whatever, Gamorreans, and you're like, oh, he's...
But he's not. I would say he's not fully in it until he,
right,
when he says, "I'm a Jedi."
Right, that moment where he throws down his lightsaber with the Emperor, and he's just like, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm a Jedi." Awesome. Geeked out. Talk about the scene, one of our favorite scenes in the movies. How can I reword that? So,
You can reword
Do
it by
what you
not-
did
by not
just
saying
now, but do it better.
well, I'm trying to.
Don't with the story, and then we get,
You
and
know,
then it's good.
yeah.
It's good. It's pretty good.